The Icebrood Saga has begun, and it started with the Bound by Blood prologue. In my opinion, the quality of this prologue matches the content and the length of the story of a full Living World episode from season 4. I actually got high hopes for this Living World season, which I want to discuss in this video. So let's dig a little bit deeper into Living World season 5, the Icebrood Saga. Hey guys, it's Kyo, and let's start this video with the contents of the Bound by Blood prologue, the start of the Icebrood Saga. Usually, a prologue is an introduction to a story. It is something that happens before the main story, something to set the tone, which then progresses into a more in-depth story. A common feature of a prologue is that it is usually short. At least the ones that I have read or have seen in movies and games. However, the Bound by Blood prologue episode was nothing but short, and I personally think that it surpassed the name of a prologue if we compare it to other Living World episodes in terms of story and the content that it offers. Before I want to talk about the story, I want to briefly discuss the new area. The Bound by Blood prologue sends us further north to the Grothmar Valley. Grothmar Valley is a very colorful area that is based on the Grothmar Wardowns in the original Guild Wars Eye of the North. As many players have mentioned on Reddit, the developers have spent a lot of time creating the zone as similar as possible to the Eye of the North version of the zone. The placement of the hills, the paths and the trees is identical to the Grothmar Wardowns in the original Guild Wars. The colorfulness of the area also reminded me a lot of Toussaint, an area that you visit in The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine DLC. When you venture deeper into the Grothmar Valley, you will encounter some great meta events. Of course, there is the Charr metal band, which I think was absolutely amazing. The songs that the band play are all original, and the events that happen on and around the stage are similar to the things that you will see at your average metal concert. Mosh pits, cheering, dancing, reassuring crazed fans, giant sparks and a living, flaming effigy. That's just about your average metal concert. Another thing that I really loved to see was an event in the northern part of Grothmar Valley. In this event you will eventually encounter Murakai, Doomlore's Bane. Murakai is a ghost that will eternally fight the Charr after the destruction of Ascalon. More importantly, she was also a boss in the Citadel of Flame, a dungeon in the original Guild Wars that I have farmed for years in speed clear team compositions. It really brings back memories of those times. There are a number of other meta events in which you can participate. If you actively take part in some specific events and get the reward for participation, you will also be granted a key which you can use to unlock a secret vault with some extra chests and rewards. This reward system is similar to the one that we have seen in Thunderhead Peaks from Living World Season 4 Episode 5. Instead of collecting 2 halves of a Deldrumor plate, we now collect 4 keys from 4 different meta events. They are not extremely hard to obtain. I think you can get all of them in less than 2 hours if you take part in every event in sequence. A new feature in this Living World season are the strike missions. The Bound by Blood prologue episode currently offers 1 strike mission. You can compare these strike missions to a mini raid. You must go through a number of obstacles, in this case a jumping puzzle, to get to the end boss. Although I like the idea of strike missions, I do have to admit that this strike mission was fairly easy. Not much of a challenge really. I hope they become harder when more episodes are released. I think this new feature has a lot of potential, so I hope the developers are going to utilize this potential. If they make the boss a little bit harder to get to, like a harder jumping puzzle or a series of puzzles, and make the boss harder to defeat, I'm sure this could attract a more hardcore audience. Moving on to the most interesting part of the Icebrood Saga, the story. Keep in mind, this segment contains spoilers of the prologue Bound by Blood. Let's start with a recap of what happened in the Bound by Blood prologue. As we have seen in the trailer of the Icebrood Saga, the Bound by Blood episode introduces us to a new Charr, Bangar, which I thought had acted a lot like Scar from The Lion King. I shared this on Instagram and I soon realized I wasn't the only one. Anyway, you start the story with Rytlock, who is summoned by Bangar in the Blood Keep. Right from the start, you can come to the conclusion that Rytlock is not welcome at the Blood Keep, and the only reason that Bangar invited him was out of sentimentality. Also, Aurene is still in the picture but is not seen in this prologue. Aurene is cleaning up the leftover Branded after the death of Kraukatorek. Although no one likes the Branded, Bangar grows suspicious of the new Elder Dragon powers that Aurene has. Also, Bangar isn't too fond of other races than Charr, so he doesn't make much friends in this prologue. Soon after, you are left to ease any anxieties about Aurene to the other legions of Charr by participating in events in the new map. Although I do think this is a fun mechanic so you won't rush through the story, it got me out of the flow since I really wanted to know what was going to happen next in the story. I spent about an hour to find events and participate in them before I could continue with the main story of this prologue. When I could start the next instance of the story, the conflict between Rytlock and Bangar further escalated and more suspicion about Bangar came to be. After a short chase through the Shiver Peaks Pass, it was concluded that Bangar wanted to control an Elder Dragon for its own. And that's where it ends, for now. I do think that this is a great start of the new Living World season. The story was of similar length to the other Living World episodes. However, since this was a prologue episode, I actually expected a much shorter episode, so it surpasses my expectations. Do you think that this would mean that the next episodes are of similar length? I asked it in a YouTube poll and the results were mixed. I would also like to hear your thoughts about this in the comments of this video. This brings me to my conclusion and hopes for the next Icebrood Saga episode. So if this was a prologue, then I expect the next episode to be much longer and much bigger in terms of new features and story. Maybe I'm creating the wrong expectations here, but if this is not the case, then I would just have called it episode 1 instead of a prologue. I'm certain that the naming of this first episode led to increased expectations about future episodes, so I hope ArenaNet delivers on that. Also, there has been a lot of talk about expansion-like features. So far, I have no idea what that is going to be. As I've mentioned in streams and in other videos, I'm really hoping for a new profession or quite possibly a new race. These features are something I want to see in the game for a long time. We haven't seen a new profession since the release of Heart of Thorns, so I hope they have something in the works. However, for now I wouldn't get my hopes up. I would be satisfied with a good story and, more importantly, a lot of replayable content and meta events. I think new elite specializations and a new mount are more realistic, which would be nice too. In terms of story, it is clear that we are going to venture to the Shiver Peaks and possibly a little bit further in the Charr homelands. I'm especially excited for areas like Gunnar's Hold, a city in the original Guild Wars Eye of the North. I hope that there is still something left of it. The quality of this prologue was really good, so I hope to see that the voice acting and the cinematics of future episodes are similar to the Bound by Blood prologue. Whatever the case, let's keep an eye on Reddit, the forums and the official Guild Wars 2 social media channels to get teasers and see what other people expect. I would love to hear your opinion about this prologue and future episodes. Be sure to share them in the comments of this video. Also, to support me, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, give this video a like and share this video with your guildies. For now, I would like to thank you all so much for watching and I hope to see you all in the next video. Peace!